Good evening and welcome to the January 25th, 2021 meeting of the Wakefield Town Council. I'm calling this meeting to order. If we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then we'll move to our agenda. Just waiting. There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Seeing attendance, all members of Town Council are present. At this time, we are going into executive session. So for those people who have joined, we're going to scoot out of public meeting and come back in when we're done. It should not be that long. Steve, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're entering executive session for a discussion regarding the clerical union contract with the intent of returning to open session immediately thereafter.
One thing, Madam Chair,
yes.
We're going into executive session because to have this discussion in open session could harm the bargaining position of the town.
Thank you. Exactly what Town Administrator Mayo just said. So if I can have a roll call vote, a motion in a second, and then a roll call vote to move into executive session. Thank you. Moved by Paul, seconded by Jonathan. Vote myself, yes. Julie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
And Ed?
Aye.
Thank you. So we will be moving into executive session now for a short time. Ian, if you could stop sharing your screen for the executive session. Awesome, thank you. Okay, Sherry, do we have anyone for public engagement?
Nobody.
And is anyone who is presently on attending the meeting, would they like to participate in public engagement? If so, please raise your hand function. All right. Looks like we're good. Thank you. So moving on to item number 6, we have the COVID-19 update. I will send it first to Steve to organize or right to Tom. Oh, you're muted, Steve. Still muted.
There we go. There we go. I guess they mute you when you come back in. I know that Ruth is going to join us. At least I think Ruth is going to join us. Might I suggest that you pick off a couple of these other items while she's coming in, because
Of course.
you might have thought it was 7 and it's 6:54. Sorry, Tom.
We can move to item number 8, appointments. The student liaison appointments to the Environmental Sustainability Committee. Sherry, can you please remind me how many, was there a finite number of openings?
Yes. Yep. There's no cap. You can do whatever.
Okay.
Mhm.
Excellent. And my understanding is we had a few applicants and then we had a late applicant, but still we were able to see that resume.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So if someone, I had trouble, I'm having trouble right now pulling up the names, but Sherry, can you share the names with me, please?
Sure. We have Abigail Lane. We have Nicholas Polari.
Mhm.
We have Sophie Brown. And we have Adi Festil.
Addie Festal. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that we appoint all 4 of these students who seem to be incredibly thoughtful in their applications and in their resumes. So I would need a motion to appoint, a motion and a second to appoint Addie, Sophie, Nicholas, and Abby, right?
Correct.
Madam
Excellent.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to move the slate.
Second.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. A vote to appoint the slate. Paul?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Maureen?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ed?
Can I just confirm, Madam Chair? So these, I know we have unlimited appointments. Are all these voting members, or is there one voting member or no voting members? Just they're all.
Yeah.
No.
They just
Student
forgot.
liaisons.
Mhm.
Yes.
Excellent. So congratulations to all four. They will continue their good work. I know some of them are already knee-deep in environmental sustainability actions. Okay. I'm going to jump to item number 10. Sorry, my cough dropped. And there's a request from the library to accept and expend a gift or gifts in the amount of $11,000 from various donors with thanks. Can I have a motion and a second to accept the gift?
So moved.
Moved by Julie,
Second.
seconded by Paul. Any discussion? Excellent. Other than great thanks for that. Vote, Paul.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Maureen.
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Peter
Yes.
and Ed.
Aye.
Excellent. The gift is accepted on behalf of the library. Steve, should we?
Do the minutes and then I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Item
didn't. Oh
7.
my gosh, I didn't do the minutes. Thank you for reminding me. Can I please have item number 7? I skipped over. Can I please have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from? Oh, here's Ruth. January 11th, 2021.
So moved.
Moved by Paul,
Second.
seconded by Jonathan. Any discussion? Okay, great. Accepting the minutes. Paul.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Maureen.
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
Ed.
Aye.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So item number 6, the COVID-19 update.
Perfect.
If,
I'll start and then.
good, and then Ruth will jump
then
on.
Ruth and Tom should unmute themselves because they'll be going. It's been a very, I'm not going to use the word exciting, nerve-wracking few days in going forward with the COVID-19 pandemic and our response to it. I'm not going to talk too much about our numbers, but although we're still in the red, we were seeing some downward trends on at least on our positivity rate. I think we dropped from 8.5 to 6.5 or something like that, which is positive, but still not where we want it. So anyways, you know, there's a lot of changes going on. We heard, I guess, a week, 10 days ago that local communities, boards of health could, if they wished, you know, give out vaccines. And we opted in, and I think the town council, thank you for your support on that. And it's been a very bumpy ride since then. One thing that we have done is that we have secured the Old American Mutual building, working very appreciative of a very good corporate citizen. And that's really all they're looking for, is to be a corporate citizen. That's a perfect site. A lot of room there. We can stay set up there because we will hopefully at some point seeing 1,000 people in there a day when we do get up and running for the vaccine. That's what our hope is, or 800 people a day. And that's just a perfect spot. We can socially distance. We don't have to interfere with any of the schools or what have you. So Waterstone LLC has been really good about working with us, and our you know, their local attorney, Brian McGrail, has been great about putting us in touch with the right people over there. So I really appreciate them being good corporate citizens. So we've kind of been working on that, and thanks Tom Mullen for putting together, working on the license with them. So that's just about there for our use of it. And we kind of thought that we'd be doing it a certain way, and then things changed this weekend. So or Sunday, or this afternoon, they changed again, right, Ruth? So I'm going to turn it over to Ruth and she can tell you where we are.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Yeah, we have been making a lot of plans. The plans changed over the weekend, and then they changed again at noon with the governor's announcement. So I will tell you where we're at now. So there is very little vaccine available in the state. Because we are doing this on a regional basis, we're being given more vaccine. If we were a local health department, we would get 100 doses of vaccine a week, which not sure what you would do with 100 doses. We have committed to using the Pfizer vaccine. Loads of thanks to Melrose Wakefield Healthcare, who will be storing it in their deep freezers, which, because of the logistics along with deep freezing and dry ice and all that, that is a huge, huge help. So we will be getting a good amount of vaccine this week for our clinic next week. And then after that, it's going to be very little vaccine for the foreseeable future. I can't tell you when. They don't know when. So it's just not going to be good, is all I can say, because there's a lot of people who want to be vaccinated and who we want to vaccinate, but we can only vaccinate with the vaccine we have. So at this time, on the state website, maimmunizations.org. You can go onto that website. You'll see a blue button that says phase 1. Ignore it, just click on it. And you will have access to a couple of clinics. For Friday in Melrose and Monday in Wakefield. Those clinics are open to everybody in phase 1 who lives in or works in Wakefield, Melrose, Malden, Medford, Winchester, Stoneham. And it says that on the website. On Monday at the Wakefield Clinic, you can also register if you are 75 or older and live in Wakefield, Melrose, Malden, Medford, Stoneham, and Winchester. These are not open to the general public. They are only open to our public health region. One little trick on that website that I've learned is if you put in Melrose or Wakefield, nothing will show up. If you put in Memorial Hall, the Melrose one will show up. And if you put in Comverse, C-O-M as in Mary, V-E-R-S-E, the Wakefield Clinic will show up. Or you can scroll through 3 or 4 pages of clinics till you see it. There are spaces available as we speak. Needless to say, the spaces will fill up quickly. You really do have to meet the criteria of either being in phase 1 or 75 and older for Monday in phase 2. Unfortunately, we do have to check. We will have to turn people away. We really don't want to do that. So we're trying to message as much as possible, please don't register if you're not eligible. We will have 975 doses Friday, 975 doses Monday. An additional clinic that we are all eligible to go to, same criteria, will be on Thursday in Malden. It is not posted yet. We want to, not that we're cynical, but we want to see the vaccine in our hot little hands before we post the Thursday one. So that is next week's schedule. After that, there will be much fewer doses of vaccine available. And it's not going to be good. But if we didn't accept Pfizer versus the Moderna vaccine, we would have gotten 100 doses a week, which we met over the weekend several times and we felt that this was the best alternative. If you get Pfizer for your first shot, you will come back 21 days later and get Pfizer for your second shot. If you were a first responder who got vaccinated with Moderna, you'll be back 28 days later with Moderna. Things are changing literally on an hourly basis. It's really important. I'd say check the state website, but to be honest with you, they're not always perfectly current, but it doesn't hurt to look there. We'll be trying to keep our website up to date as much as we possibly can to do that. So we're talking about when we can do almost 1,000 a day, we're talking about 70 people working a day. Steve has hired Rick Stinson back, I think. Can I say all that, Rick, Steve?
No, you can't. No, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Like-
Yeah. thank you.
We do have we have a volunteer coordinator who's working with Jen McDonald, coming up with a form that'll be on the town website. We're looking for clinical people and lay people, both, to sign up, and they can sign up on the form, hit submit. It'll go to Rick, and Rick will get back to you to put you in places when we need them. And Wakefield is such an awesome community that we're going to have loads of people to help. So when the floodgates open and we're able to really vaccinate a lot of people every day, I know we'll have the staffing to be able to do that. Tom Walsh has been awesome in getting the building set up. IT has been there working to get the Wi-Fi set up. And it's really been a fantastic team effort. The whole team met this morning: fire, police, emergency management, school, IT, I don't know, communications, probably somebody else I forgot.
Police, fire.
Yep, did I say them? Police, fire. Yeah. So really, it's an excellent group effort. I feel like it's going to be a really positive experience on Monday, and then very stressful for a few weeks. And then hopefully the feds will have vaccine that they can, that they can distribute to the states. I know that's what we all want. It's what we're all waiting for. When it happens, we'll be ready. There is a mass vaccination site that will be open in, I think, February 8th in Danvers. We thought it was going to be at the Topsfield Fairgrounds. It's not. It's at the hotel. I think it's a Doubletree Hotel now. On the, the big hotel on the left-hand side of the highway. That's going to be a mass vaccination site. Anybody from any city or town can go there within the phases. So that's an alternative. Fenway Park is also open and running, and Gillette Stadium is also open and running. All of those sites you can register on that same website. I'm sure I forgot something.
Thanks, Ruth. We can go to Tom if you want to add anything, and then open it up for any questions if the counselors have them.
Yep. Excuse me. Yeah, we just, we had the meeting today, all the departments got together, our regular emergency management team. And this is a top priority to get this building up and running. I want to thank Mr. Mayo for securing that agreement today. And tomorrow we'll have 4 different crews working in there, bringing in inventory, getting it set up through IT so that we're able to open up and conduct the clinic on Monday. So, but right now, everybody's efforts is just in tune to get, 201 Parkway up and running, That's all I have.
Thanks, Tom.
If I can just jump in.
Of course.
If I can, Judy Luciano was there too, because there are our senior population that's not easy signing up on the website. I mean, it's a government website. We're there to help people with it, and outreach to people. So, we're setting up these hotlines and, to help people out. And we talked a lot about even transportation, getting people there that need to get there. We will also have paper forms for them to fill out, but it is hard, and it is, I'm going to share Bruce's frustration and Tom's frustration is that this was a complete craziness over the weekend where, we've been told Moderna all along, which is easier for us to handle, obviously. We were assuming, I guess, maybe that's bad on our part, that we were going to have a sufficient amount of vaccine to do that. And unfortunately, and I apologize to the community that it's going to be frustrating for them as well, we can't give vaccines if we don't have the actual product. So we're hoping that, this will ramp up in the next few weeks. But we're all doing the best that we can here, and great job by Ruth and Tom and the whole crew to get this up and running and together. And I think we were kind of saying, well, we're going to get this ready and we're going to hurry up and wait. And maybe that's what we're going to do, but hopefully we won't be waiting too long. So, the website is not impossible to use, but it does take a little bit of working it out.
Thanks, Steve.
And the
Mary-
Moderna, we wanted the Moderna, but Pfizer was all we could get, as Ruth said. So that's just makes it a bit
Equally
harder.
effective. It's totally fine. The issues are the logistics
Mhm.
on our part, not on the public.
Right.
Thanks, Ruth. Marion.
So thank you, Tom and Ruth and Steve and everyone else who's working on this, because I know the rollout has not been the best example of rolling out anything. Steve, can you just talk, and I spent a lot of time on that website, which is not easy for me to understand and navigate this afternoon, because my father's in the start of phase 2. And so can we just talk about what we're doing to outreach to our seniors in Wakefield? And, you talked a little bit about it, Steve, but most people will not be able to understand that website. And so, what advice do we give them? Call your PCP, call Judy. I heard you say a hotline. So when will that be active?
I think right now you should, call the Board of Health number and we'll be moving them over, or call the senior center. Judy's actually reaching out to her normal cast of characters right now that we work with. So, we are doing that way. And then, at some point we only have how many slots? Well, how many slots on Monday?
975.
670 slots. I bet it's a lot lower now as we go through this. So I think it's outreach. I think it's talking to your neighbors and friends. We'll be putting items out there, but I will tell you, navigating that, and that's a state website, it's not ours, it's not the easiest in the world. And you have to have a lot of information. You have to upload your insurance card on it too. So
You don't actually, Steve, I'm sorry.
Don't
That-
anymore? Okay.
No, you don't. You
Oh.
have to put your insurance information in, but you don't need to put a copy of it in.
Oh, okay. That makes it a
So-
lot easier for people then.
That does,
Yeah.
yeah, including
That's
me.
not what their website says, though.
I know, I
Yeah.
know.
And someone just who's on the website right now, Judy Luciano watching us, said there's 393 slots left on Monday. And we haven't even broadcast this yet. So this is just people
We
watching.
have been registering people over the phone who are 75 and over and call. We register them for them over the telephone.
That's
So we will have more items out, and we are going to try to help people, but it is, I almost hesitate if we do too much outreach right now, it's going to be even more frustrating.
Mhm.
We're gonna get 1,000 calls next week and we're down to 300 today.
And do
So
we know when Danvers will be open? It was listed. I did see it listed, but do we know?
I think it's February 8th. But I wouldn't swear to that date, but I think it's about then.
when you do scroll down that website, if it's on there, it tells when they're open and how many slots they have available. But it isn't, the not uploading your insurance card is great. We should message that to people. So I'm sure
Yeah.
Jen's watching and she will. That's the hardest thing to do think of your seniors. They've got to somehow take a picture of their card and download it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do still have to
Not for
fill
me.
out the information,
Yeah, but you can fill that in. Yeah,
right?
not so
Yeah.
bad.
Paul and then Jonathan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to thank Ruth and Tom for their great job that they're doing and getting us all situated with the COVID shots. Just a quick question. I don't know who can answer it. Is there a website URL that we can provide that will actually give a list as to what phases are first and who's in each phase? Is
The
there a
state
website?
website, just go
Yeah.
onto the state website, mass.gov. And then type in, when can I get vaccinated?
Okay, so on that list, on that site, that will tell us what phases and who's eligible for each phase.
That's also on our website as well. There's a link to that on www.wakefield.ma.us.
Right.
On the COVID menu. The governor changed that a little bit today. So hopefully that's been updated on the state website.
It has, I checked.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much for the information.
Thanks, Paul. Jonathan, then Julie.
Thank you. And thank you, Ruth and Tom, for really great work in pulling this all together. I from my professional life, kind of appreciate the logistical difficulties of doing this, even if you had kind of perfect static information from the state. But, particularly knowing how that's changing, I really applaud you for, the great work that continues here. So one question I had, Councillor Budd asked around sort of the outreach that we're doing to seniors. Certainly seems like we're getting the word out now for the limited number of vaccines that we have. But, Steve, if I could suggest maybe as we think about sort of the future and once we do get a sense as to what sort of the steady state will be in terms of vaccine availability, it would be great if we could do more proactive outreach to members of the community. And I certainly, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, would be happy to volunteer to, help make phone calls out to seniors and help get them signed up just so that, when we do have the vaccines available, we make sure that we make it easy for folks to get them. Just the other question I wanted to ask Ruth was around the second dose. So how does that work in terms of distribution? Are those second doses already allocated? Do we already have them in hand? Like how do we know that we'll have sort of the 975 second doses from the first doses we give out on Friday?
Because the state health department has told us that week will be shipped 975 doses. We'll be shipped whatever we used for the second doses when we need them. So
Okay.
for Pfizer, that's 21 days. For Moderna, that's 28 days.
Got it. So regardless of which vaccines we just, if we get, 200 Pfizer doses next week after we do these initial clinics, 21 days from that, they'll automatically send us the 200 second doses?
Kind of automatically, kind of.
Okay.
I have to order it, but yes.
Got it. But there's no risk that, they'd run out of vaccine. I'm assuming they've kind of accounted for that in their, I'm hoping they've accounted for that in their distribution up front.
They have told us they have.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. And again, thank you for everything that you're doing. Really appreciate it.
Julie.
I know I'm getting texts from my primary care and there will be vaccination centers in towns. Do people just kind of get it where they can get it? So if somebody says, oh no, I should wait to get it in Wakefield, but they're being offered it at the primary, people should know they should take it wherever they can get it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And they won't be turned away because Wakefield has its own vaccination center. Okay.
No,
Okay.
the concept is when there's actual vaccine around, that you'll have options between the mass vaccination sites, your primary care, some health departments, some pharmacies.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not as kind of entrenched in this as a lot of people are, and I know it's not the problem right now, but I just,
I wish.
to be clear on that, thank you so much for all you're doing.
I mean, what I told my parents was, you should call your primary care physician, step one. And their primary care physician said, call me back after February 1st. So.
Ed,
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ruth, Tom, and Steve, for these really important updates and for all of your work. I know you've been working all very hard on it. Question, I guess maybe for you, Ruth, on this. I know that one of the frustrations seems to be that at the state level, they're not getting much advance notice in terms of how much vaccine is coming and when. Do we have any sense of when that might smooth out, or how things just really set expectations for folks? You know, do we have a sense of when we are likely to have more regular vaccines coming in at some decent frequency?
No, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a new federal administration who, has promised getting out more vaccine. That's of course based on the manufacturers making it and having it available to ship out. And then the federal government decides how much is available to each state. And then each state decides how much is available to everybody who asks for it. And it changes within the week. The beginning of last week, I was getting thousands of doses of vaccine. And this weekend, I was not.
And is it your understanding that this is in any way a production issue, or is it more, are they just not able to keep up to your understanding, or is it just how it's allocated between the states?
No idea.
Okay.
Way, way above my payroll. Way, way up.
So basically, it sounds like we're going to have a little bit of like, it'll obviously be a slow start in though. Well, I mean, or like a few days worth of significant vaccination. Then it sounds like everyone should expect some downtime for a few weeks, it sounds like. And then the hope is that it then ramps up from there on a more consistent basis. Is that a fair?
We'll have a small clinic the second week in February. And after that, it's 975 doses to be split between 6 communities. Not a pretty picture.
Right, which is better than 100 each.
Right.
But I think that we're hoping, we talked about this today, we're hoping that at some point in the next 30 days, maybe, I don't know, 45, whatever, we'll be able to go back to, let's take care of all of Wakefield. We're going to get plenty for Wakefield. We're hoping that's going to happen. It may not. But thank God that we're in this consortium so we can even do this. So, it's been a great job by Ruth and Tom keeping this going, because a lot of our communities surrounding us, they're not even getting another clinic like this, and they're going to be going wherever. So it's a lot of work and a great job by our team.
Thank you.
thank you so much, Ruth and Tom. And in this, I hate to make Captain Obvious statements, but I was amazed with the mass distribution seeing this. And I've even seen it in my own family, that the seniors don't often ask their own children or grandchildren to assist them with things. So they'll be calling Judy, and we know that there's a large family that can help that senior. So of course there's some seniors that don't have anyone. But I also think if you're a senior, ask your child, ask your grandchild to help you navigate the website. More your grandchild, I would say. That if we know where the website is based on our website, which we do, don't hesitate to reach into your own family. Again, I know that's Captain Obvious, but I was amazed when we were doing the mass and Judy telling me, knowing people had a lot of family help and they just weren't asking. So you have to ask now. You have to ask for help. Thank you so much, Ruth and Tom. I can't even imagine. You are doing the work of angels. So good luck. We'll be posted. It changes every day. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Deb.
questions, comments? All righty. So Steve, are we now moving to budgets, I think?
We are now moving to budgets, and we have Kevin Gill, who will go over the budgets that are in your packet, and then you've actually had them for a couple of weeks. And we did have set up a procedure a couple of years ago where the Finance Committee subcommittees actually met with the, in this case, Kevin and I, to go over the town hall budgets, and they'll meet with the department heads as they go along for the larger budgets. And that the chairman of the Finance Committee subcommittee will say either a lot of words or a few brief words before we get going. So Evan Kenny, who is the chairman of the Town Hall Budget Subcommittee for the Finance Committee, is on, waiting patiently. And I think he could say a few words, and then we can, maybe I'll say a few words and we'll jump into Kevin.
Yeah, I'm guilty of sometimes being long-winded, Steve, but I'll try to keep it brief here.
I'll take care of that.
Good evening, counselors. What you have here is what I think what you're used to seeing with these town hall budgets. I think the incremental bottom line increase from year to year here is something like 1.35%. And the majority of that is in personal services, as you're accustomed to seeing. And certainly Kevin will go over those details, but I think in general, we had about an hour-long discussion on these budgets in the subcommittee with some good questions. With, the three of us are relatively new members, but pretty benign, if you will. And you got some help from things like elections. We have less election expenses this year, and you're going to be looking at COLA increases as your main driver. And so I would give credit to Steve and Kevin for sort of managing this well. I think at the end of the day, you can be pretty happy with 1.35 bottom line incremental increase. So I'm here if you have any questions, with respect to the subcommittee's perspective. But other than that, I'll turn it over to Steve and Kevin.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn over to Kevin, but the budgets in front of you do have a cumulative effect of 1.35% over last fiscal year. Evan did say the driver is the elections, and we only budget for elections that we know of. So in next fiscal year, starting on July 1, there is one election, and that's your municipal election. There's no federal election. There's no state election. So that just has us one election. So that budget came down. And again, everything else is really just contractual. And I'm going to turn it over to Kevin. Kevin?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Town Council members. As both Steve and Evan had said, today we're looking at 23 of what we consider the smaller budgets. In total, the 23 budgets
Kevin freeze?
Yeah, I think he did.
I think Kevin froze.
looking to
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Kevin,
there
you're
he
going to
goes.
start again. You froze.
Okay. Yeah, my internet is not really that good today. There's a
Unstable.
lot of going in and out. Actually, would it be easier if I hop on another device? My PC is not working that well.
Dan, you're muted.
And you're muted.
And you're muted.
We're like the technology, whatever tonight.
Kevin, go ahead and then I'll jump in.
Sometimes, Kevin, if you shut off your video, that can help the
Bandwidth.
yes. So we wouldn't see you, but we would hear you.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
No, let me go on my iPad
Sure.
instead of my laptop.
Sure.
It might work a little bit better. Hold on.
Absolutely. Steve, do you want to,
I can start while he's
Sure.
doing it. Yeah, okay, we'll start with the accounting department, and these are in the order that they're in the budget book. So that's how we'll do it, in the order on the,
In your
on the-
packet.
so the
And-
accounting budget, we
Steve,
recommend.
sorry, I don't want to, but the process, do you want to just give a little
Oh, okay.
hint of what the process might be?
You know, every vote that this, you have to take on Zoom is by roll call vote. So what I was thinking we can do, and this is perfectly fine, the Finance Committee does it all the time, is that Kevin will present all the budgets, and there'll be comments and questions. Then instead of voting on each individual budget, if it's okay with the town council, we could do one vote at the end as presented. Unless any councilor wants to pull out a budget, maybe we could talk about that separately. I think in this group, you're not going to see a lot of that, probably. And it's not like when we have all of our department heads in there. You know, we take a vote so they didn't have to hang around all the way to the end. And you can remember when we're in person, they'd leave right after their budget was done and voted on. So this way, you know, we decided to do it this way. So if that's okay, Madam Chair, I see no reason why it's not legal, and we can do it that way if that's okay with you and the board.
Yeah, I think that works well. And if anyone wants to pull out a budget or have conversation about a budget, or vote on it separately, we certainly can entertain that. So we're not precluding that from happening. But as opposed to taking 26, going around 7 times for these smaller budgets that typically we don't have a lot to chat about, I think that will work. But again, please know that you have every right to ask questions, whatever you want to ask, or pull that budget out.
And I do think ask them as they're being presented.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
All right, Kevin, are you ready? You want me to move on? He's trying. Oh,
No, yeah, he disconnected to the iPad.
Oh, excellent. Yep. World of Zoom. We all know it.
all right, Kevin, that doesn't mean you get 2 paychecks because we saw it twice on the meeting, all right?
All right. It looks like you're live now, Kevin, no?
I don't think he has audio.
He's trying. There we go.
It's connecting.
Yeah, no audio.
So Steve,
I
why
can-
don't you start and then
Start, yeah.
Kevin can join in whenever he wants to, or
Sure.
is able to, I should say.
Sure. Okay, so in any event, the first item in front of you is the accounting budget. We are recommending that this budget be increased $17,097 over the current year's budget. This increase breaks down $15,901 coming from tax levy and $11,096 coming from a transfer from water and sewer. The budget increases all in personal services, which is contractual and negotiated increases. Expenses are level funded. The main expenses in this budget are $28,000 for equipment rental, including 7 copy machines and 2 high-speed printers. We found it easier if we put all of the, as where the lease comes in, all of that goes through the accounting office, makes it a little bit easier to manage. $57,000 for professional services, which is the town audit through Powers and Sullivan. $8,000 for postage used to mail the account payable checks. The total request for this budget is $443,709, with $422,998 coming from the tax levy and $20,711 coming from a water and sewer transfer. Questions? Anne's muted. Anne, you're muted.
And we muted.
For the love of God.
This is a bad night.
Oh, it's a bad night. Sorry, people. So looks like there's no questions. So Steve, you can move to your next budget.
Okay, no question. The next budget is the treasurer's
Steve,
budget.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I hear you
Steve?
now. All right. Yep.
Woohoo.
I'm on now.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. Kevin, they did
Thank
your
you.
budget. I only cut it a little bit, but they're all good. So
Oh,
you
beautiful.
can jump into
I deserve it for that.
treasurer.
Okay, next budget is the treasurer's budget. We're recommending that this budget be increased $6,704. Again, this increase is all in personal services and is contractual negotiated increases. The expense portion is level funded. Major expenses within this budget, there's a line item $13,000 for tax title, which is used for attorney's fees and land court costs. There's a $7,500 line item for bank charges, which is used to maintain the town's bank accounts and the cost of various checks. We do collect revenue in this department from tax title. Last year, we collected almost $100,000 in tax title. 2 years ago, we collected over $143,000. The total budget request for the treasurer's office is $226,633.
Thanks, Kevin. Do any counselors have any questions or comments on the treasury budget? Jonathan.
Thank you. This is more just a comment, I think more for budget planning for the future, but I know as we go through this, there are a number of sort of accounts that have dollars allocated where we haven't spent in some cases in 3 years straight. And I know the printing and binding budget or line item in this one is one. I just maybe request that sort of for next year, that we take a look at some of those, and if it makes sense to clean some of those out, if we truly aren't spending anything in there, that we look ahead to doing that. None of them are huge, none of them are sort of large dollar amounts, but if we truly aren't expecting to spend there, it'd be great to see some of those come off in the future.
Thanks, Jonathan.
I had that circled. I had that 2,200 circled, Jonathan. So yeah,
Okay.
and that one, yeah.
I think I made the same comment last year. So.
Maybe that's why.
I'm pretty sure you did. That sounded familiar to me. Any other comments or questions on Treasury? And I don't see anything in the chat. All right, thanks, Kevin. Moving on to Legal Department.
Next budget is the legal budget. This is Tom Mullen's budget. We are recommending that this budget be increased $3,508. This increase is all in personal services. The expenses are level funded. Major expenses within this budget, there's a line item for outside professional services, $60,000. This is used for labor attorneys or other expert services as needed. We've needed this for the past couple of years with regards to a legal settlement that we just finished at our last town meeting. So hopefully going forward, we won't need to do reserve fund transfers, which we've had to do in the last couple of years for this line item. The other large line item within this budget is the books and publications line item, $6,200, which is used to upkeep the town's legal library. The total budget request for the legal department is $191,185.
Thanks, Kevin. Any questions or comments on the Legal Department budget? All right, seeing none, I think we're good. We can move to the next budget.
Next budget is the tax collector's budget. We are recommending that this budget be increased $7,619. This increase breaks down $5,494 to tax levy, $2,125 to a water and sewer transfer. Again, this increase is all in personal services and is for contractual and negotiated increases. Expenses are level funded. Main expenses within this budget, there's a line item $5,200 for printing and binding, which is used to print the preliminary and actual tax bills. There's a line item $3,750, which is for professional services, which is used mainly for instruments of taking when we do tax title. And a line item $32,500 for postage, which is used to mail out tax bills. Total budget request is $289,810, with $231,333 coming from tax levy and $58,477 from a water and sewer transfer.
Thanks, Kevin. Any questions on the tax budget? or chat? No. Okay, seeing none, we can move to the next budget.
Next budget, budget number 8, the assessors budget. We are recommending that this budget be decreased $5,577. There is an increase in personal services, $6,748, which is contractual and negotiated increases. And there is a decrease under the contractual services portion of the budget. Under professional services was the main decrease of $12,000. And the reason for that decrease, we use a couple different companies to help value the properties in Wakefield. One does real estate, one does personal property. With the DOR in fiscal 22, we have to revalue all our properties, which is a more extensive. So we're reducing that line item by $12,000. And we are going to have a couple special articles at town meeting, approximately $80,000. Those property revaluations we have to do every 5 years. And it's a requirement by the Department of Revenue. So we thought that was the best way to handle that. So the main expenses within this budget is the professional services line item, which is used for outside appraisal services and expert witnesses at appellate tax board cases. Total budget request is $239,319.
Thanks, Kevin. Ed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kevin, could you just clarify the reevaluation that happens? Is that on residential and commercial side, or is the requirement on only one or the other?
It's on all, both.
And Steve, I don't know whether you might be able to answer this. Do we have any sense of how we're looking from the commercial side of things today versus, I guess, 5 years ago when it would have last been meaningfully done?
I think they're definitely higher, but they haven't been increasing the same level as residential. So that's the issue. But you know, hopefully when we're seeing a little bit of commercial stuff going on, that will help with this. But yeah, that's been an issue in our whole region, right? Residential's going up like this, and commercial values have been flat. So
yeah,
hopefully they'll ferret out more money, which helps us in the whole tax, in the whole 2.5 item.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about, from the perspective of, just like obviously revenue and we'd much rather, I think most people would rather see it coming from the commercial side to be increases than the residential. All right. So, and that will come before town meeting in the spring, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
It'll come before this board during the budget process.
Right.
Thanks, Ed. Jonathan?
Thank you. And Kevin, just to make sure I sort of understand, so because we have to do this larger kind of reevaluation for the DOR, the thinking is that we'll be spending less on kind of some of the routine reevaluations that we do upon, property owner requests. So those occurrences where we'd be hiring an outside appraiser and an outside expert to kind of do some of those ad hoc things, some of that will be subsumed by the larger project.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Great, thank you. Just wanted to make sure I understood that. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? Julie? Julie, your audio keeps clicking off and on.
Is that any better?
Yes, better.
Okay. So just because the reason that we would take this to town council is because it's kind of a one-time, or at least once every 5 years. We don't put things in the budget that are one-offs. Is that generally the case?
You were going off and on again. That's okay. You could throw the question in chat if you wanted, we could ask it.
I think the reason she was asking whether because it's more of a one-off than a routine thing, why it comes before the town council as it does.
Or the town meeting. Why does it go to?
Right,
Because it will be in an article, yeah. So the only way to appropriate that is to put it in the article.
Because of the one-off aspect.
Exactly.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Perfect. Excellent interpretation, Ed. Thank you. Jump in anytime. Any other questions? I don't see any. So Kevin, it looks like you're good to go to the next one.
Okay, next budget is the town clerk's budget. Recommending that this budget be increased $11,034. This increase is all in personal services and is for contractual and negotiated increases. The expense portion of the budget is level funded. Main expenses within this budget, the printing and binding line item, $14,000, which is used to print the town bylaw books, code books, dog licenses, and it's also used to bind old birth, death, and marriage certificates. Total budget request is $237,939. I do want to point out that the department does bring in approximately $70,000 a year in various license and fees.
Thank you, Kevin. Jonathan.
Sure. Just a quick question on the postage piece. I know that our spend fiscal year to date was quite a bit above budget. My assumption is that's related to election-related mailing because of the large number of mail-in ballots this year.
That is correct, and we have gotten reimbursed through COVID for the COVID cares funds for some of those mailing costs.
Got it.
Approximately
And so,
$4,000.
So if we were looking at sort of a state election or a federal election year, I'd imagine in the future, we'd probably want to think about upping that budget. But given that we only have a town election next year, that's why we're leaving it at the 3,000.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. Next budget.
Next budget is the election and registration budget, recommending level funding. Main expenses within this budget under personal services. Line item is $17,100, which is used for the census workers. Under contractual, the professional services line item, $10,000. We use an outside service called LHS. It helps with the mailing, the printing of the ballots, and also the maintenance on the voting machines. The postage line item, $6,500, which is used for absentee ballots. The total budget request is $37,700.
Any questions, comments? All right, seeing none. Thanks, Kevin. Next budget.
Next budget is the election expense budget. We are requesting a decrease in this budget of $24,050 over last year. This increase is based on the reduced number of scheduled elections next year. In the current year, we had three scheduled elections. Next year, we have one. The estimated cost of one election is $12,925. Total budget request is the $12,925.
Any questions, comments? All right, seeing none. Next budget.
Next budget is the Finance Committee budget. We're requesting level funding. Main expenses within this budget are the cost to print the town's recommendation book, which is used at town meeting, $2,800. And also the dues and membership line item, $3,400. And that's the Finance Committee's portion of the MMA dues. Total budget request is $7,060.
Great, thank you, Kevin. Any questions or comments? Jonathan.
Thank you. Just a quick question on the recommendation book. I looks like we've spent pretty much nothing over the last 3 years. Yet, I mean, we've had the recommendation books at town meeting. Are those being paid for out of another budget account, or are we just spending a lot less than we expected?
Well, we actually, I'll take that. We're actually able to
Okay,
print them
sure.
in-house now.
Okay.
So we print them in-house. Sherry puts them together. We print them in-house. So I think we need to charge that paper cost to the Finance Committee rather than the town council budget. So that's an accounting error, but it is quite a savings when we used to take them out and get them printed. So it's
Great.
worked well. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Maybe
Thank you.
one of those areas that we can circle a little bit too.
Yep.
Thanks, Jonathan. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Conservation Department.
Conservation Commission. We are recommending that this budget be increased $1,470. There will be an increase in the available fund offset of $1,500 and a decrease to the tax levy portion of the budget by $30. There are more wetland filing fees collected the second half of last year and the beginning of this year. So we're able to increase the budget offset from $3,000 to $4,500. The budget consists of two people, each working, two part-time employees. They both work 10 hours per week. Total budget request is $48,372, with $43,872 coming from tax levy and $4,500 from available funds.
Thanks, Kevin. Any questions or comments on Concom? Okay, moving to the planning department, planning board.
Planning board's budget, we are requesting level funding. Main expenses within this budget, personal services, the cost of the clerk, $4,800. We budget 24 meetings a year, $200 per meeting. The advertising line item, $2,500, which is used to advertise the meeting and to print any bylaw changes. This department does collect some revenue. Fiscal year to date, they've collected almost $10,000. Last year was a down year. They only collected approximately $5,000. In fiscal 19, it was $12,650 they collected. The total budget request for next year is $12,975.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments on the planning board budget? Okay, seeing none, we can move to the Board of Appeals.
Next budget, the Board of Appeals, we are recommending level funding. Main expenses within this budget is the cost of their meetings, the advertising, the cost of the clerk. We do estimate 50 hearings per year at $250 per hearing. The cost of the clerk and the office supplies make up the total budget of $27,800. We do collect revenue for this department. In fiscal 2019, we collected over $48,000. In fiscal 20, we collected $11,000. In year-to-date so far, we're at $10,000, a little over $10,000. The total budget request for 2022 is $27,800.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Just a quick comment. Given that it looks like we're trending sort of a little bit below kind of budget in terms of revenue collections, I'm just wondering, Steve, if this is something that in the future we need to look at these fees and just make sure that they're keeping up with the expense that we're putting out as a community. But no concerns or questions about the budget for this year in particular.
No, I think we absolutely do need to look at the fees, and it's actually the smaller, the smaller projects that cost the most, that are least cost effective.
Yep.
So should look at those. I agree. We tried that a few years ago. Maybe it's time to bring it back.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Nope. Make sure the chat's free. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Now fire alarm traffic signals.
Yes, next budget, fire alarm budget. We are recommending level funding for next year. This department has been very busy with all the development going on in town. They do utility pole changeovers. They fix and replace aging traffic signals and also dispatch equipment. They also maintain the master boxes at private companies where they do charge a fee for that, $225 per year. And we collect approximately $30,000 a year from those master box fees. Total budget request is $63,515.
Thank you. Questions or comments on the fire alarm budget? Okay, seeing none, we can go to emergency management.
Emergency management budget. Tom Walsh was here earlier tonight. This is his budget. We are recommending that this budget be increased $1,236 over the fiscal 21 budget. This increase is all in personal services and is for a negotiated salary increase where Tom works part-time. Main expenses under this budget, under contractual services, there's a $10,000 line item for the Emergency Operations Center, which is at the Public Safety Building. And those funds are used to service, upgrade, and maintain the equipment in that control center. And there is a line item, $16,000 for the notification system line item, which is the reverse 911 or the code red, which is used to notify the town in case of any emergencies within the town. The total budget request is $75,436.
I might add on that one, Madam Chair, that the tense that Kevin used was incorrect. The emergency management director worked part-time, works more than part-time right now, much more.
Well, yeah.
And because we budgeted that as a part-time position, and that has really ratcheted up because of COVID, that excess that he's being paid is covered under the CARES Act. So
Excellent.
if we had budgeted the full amount, we couldn't have done that, so.
Yep. Excellent. Yeah, whatever he's getting paid is
Tom
good.
wants to get back to part-time too someday.
Yes. Thank goodness for him during this
Oh, absolutely.
pandemic. Jonathan.
Sure. Just a quick question on the Emergency Operations Center. I'm curious as to why we haven't seen any spending in the last couple of years. Is that just dependent on sort of the requirements to use that, or any special software that we need to buy? Maybe talk a little bit about sort of the dynamics of when we'd be spending money for that line item.
A lot of it is IT related. We did put in new, we did carpeting, wired all the tables. Some of that might have come under capital a few years ago too. I think this particular year, we had some plans to do some more items there and they just got, held away. So let me give you an update on what else we have planned for there, because I think that's maybe not telling the whole story.
Okay. Now, it makes sense. And this is not something that I suggest taking off. I mean, I know we've been busy this year. And so, this is not a part of the budget where I'd be looking to make any reductions over the near term, but just was curious as to sort of what had been planned for that line item and why the numbers were low in terms of actual spend.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Ed.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Steve, do we have any sense of for how much longer we'll be receiving those reimbursements from the CARES Act?
Through although they haven't increased the amount, but we expect that under the federal CARES, it is still there under FEMA through 12/31/2021. The expenses are extended through that far at this point in time.
And are there any even, I guess you almost call them a capital, but like, are there any other like items that we could potentially wrap under this budget, and seek reimbursement from the federal government that might have, an impact post-pandemic?
We have wrapped quite a few things, yes. Yes. We have a lot, including generators at schools that didn't have them, new filters at schools that needed to be done. Certainly, all the PPE stuff, you may use that again. Laptops, things like that. A lot of things we've used it for. That will be ongoing. Absolutely.
Got it. Yeah. Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just comment that I know, Steve, we were talking back in the summer, working with the schools, that I think Wakefield's ingenuity in accessing the CARES Act in a good faith basis for legitimate needs, you've even said has outpaced our neighbors perhaps. So I think we are doing everything we can to squeeze what we can.
Yeah.
So good job. Kevin, Inspectional Services Department, Building Department.
Yes, Inspectional Services, or some may say the Building Department. We are recommending that this budget be increased $15,063. This increase is all in personal services and is for contractual and negotiated increases. The expenses portion is level funded. Main expenses within this budget, there is a vehicle allowance line item, $4,500, which is contractual. The printing line item, $1,500, which is used to print various applications. I will point out that we do bring in a lot of revenue from this department. In fiscal 2019 and fiscal 2020, they brought in approximately $1 million each of those 2 years. Current year to date, they are very busy, but they haven't seen those 1 or 2 really big developments that have come in that are still out there. We've brought in approximately $297,000 so far this year. Total budget request for fiscal 22 is $384,029.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions, comments on the building department budget? Okay, seeing none, we can move to the next budget.
Next budget is the Council on Aging budget. We are recommending that this budget be increased $6,440. Again, this increase is all in personal services and is for contractual and negotiated increases. The expense portion is level funded. Main expenses within this budget, oil and additives, which is used for the gas for the senior van, $7,800. And the Mystic Valley Services line item, $6,275, which is used for Meals on Wheels and in-home care services. Total budget request is $260,320.
Any questions or comments on the Council on Aging budget? All right, seeing none, we can move to the next budget.
Next budget is the recreation budget. We are requesting that this budget be increased $6,746 over last year. This increase again is all in personal services and is for contractual and negotiated increases. The expense portion of this budget is funded out of the revolving account for recreation programs and activities. Total budget request for fiscal 2022 is $116,682.
And you're muted.
The love of God, people. Thank you. Sorry about that. Although I think we've scared everyone off. The Zoom call is completely us. There's no participants, although they may watch again. Looks like we can move right to Veteran Services. Thank you.
Thank you. Veteran Services, we are requesting an increase of $3,164 over last year. This increase breaks down. There was an increase in personal services of $727, which is a contractual and negotiated increase for a part-time employee. In the contractual services, there is an increase of $3,437 in the professional services line item. And this is used to cover our portion of the salaries under the municipal agreement with Wakefield, Melrose, and Saugus. We share a veterans director, and then there is a VSO designated for just Wakefield. That's what those funds are used for. And then we were also, Karen Burke was able to decrease the Memorial Day line item $1,000, where the state now picks up a portion of the grave flags. Main expenses under this budget, under contractual services, the professional services line item, $53,435. And this is the cost to be part of that district where we share the director and have a dedicated VSO. There is a recipient line item, $170,000, which is used for the actual veterans benefits. The town does receive up to 75% reimbursement from the state for those expenses. In fiscal 21, the year that we're in now, we're expecting that reimbursement to be approximately $100,000. The total budget request for fiscal 22 is $249,601.
Thank you. Any questions on the veterans budget? Ed.
Sure. I don't know actually whether this would fall under this budget per se, but I have seen in some other communities, even out of state, where they've had banners that like in their downtown areas, similar to what we did with our graduating seniors, where we recognized our veterans, you know, each with their own individual banner. Is that the sort of thing that we would be able to have fall into this budget? Would we treat that under a different line item? I don't know, Kevin, Steve, what your thoughts would be if that were something we.
I would either put it here or town council miscellaneous, but here's not a bad spot for it. The Veterans Advisory Board was doing that when people came back from, you know, their tours at the Civic Center, but that's not a bad idea. Let's talk to them. Then we could certainly squeeze that in there.
So just my colleagues, it's something that I would like to see us do. I think not just, obviously, all veterans, so those who have recently returned, but also those that are still in our community, you know, from back in, you know, over the various wars. And I think it's a small amount.
We can certainly find that. That's an excellent suggestion. Absolutely.
All right, so we could just keep that marked off. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Ed. Jonathan.
I was just going to say, I think that's a great suggestion on Ed's part. And, you know, would add that I think there'd probably be a lot of community support even for helping to fund that if that was something that we were willing to do. I mean, both from individuals and some of the businesses in town. So certainly would be great to see us move that forward. You know, the other thing that I was going to mention is, you know, we've seen this every year where we actually spend less in this budget than we've allocated because we have fewer veterans applying for benefits, you know, than we potentially could. And, you know, it would be great to, you know, work with the Veterans Advisory Board to figure out if, you know, either by doing the banners or, you know, through other ways of promoting this, we can really, you know, really sort of talk up this benefit and make sure that the folks that, you know, are eligible for it are applying and receiving it. You know, if no one's eligible for it and we're not spending the money, that's one thing, but it's a shame if we do have the money to spend and, you know, folks aren't able to take advantage of that. So hopefully as part of, you know, some kind of banner activity or something else, we can also think about a way of promoting this further.
Yeah, we did talk with Karen Burke about more outreach here, and that one actually, she brought it up because we did discuss that line item. And I think with the, in talking with Jay Panett as well, there's more people on the Veterans Advisory Board right now. So there's more hands to go and do this. So I think great suggestions on both Ed and Jonathan's part, so. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you both. Any other comments or suggestions? Okay, streetlights.
Next budget is the streetlight budget, requesting level funding. This line item, it's used to pay for the streetlights in town. There are approximately 2,300 streetlights in the town of Wakefield, 1,800 which are in residential neighborhoods. The total budget request is $188,131.
Thank you. Any questions about streetlights? Okay, seeing none, we can go to the Historical Commission.
Next budget, Historical Commission, we are requesting level funding. Main expenses within this budget, the printing line item, $1,030, which is used to advertise their meetings. There is a $500 line item for other materials and supplies, which is used for signage repair or any upgrades that they need to do. Total budget request is $2,000.
Thank you. Any questions on Historical Commission budget? All right, seeing none, we can move to unemployment.
Next budget is the unemployment budget. We are requesting level funding. This budget breaks down $25,000 for town unemployment, $50,000 for school unemployment. Total budget request is $75,000.
Questions or comments on the unemployment budget? Seeing none, we can move to reserve fund.
Next budget is the reserve fund. We are requesting level funding. This budget is used for unforeseen, under budgeted or unbudgeted expenses or emergencies. Total budget request is $300,000.
Thank you. Jonathan.
This may be a super early question for Mr. Mayo, but do we have any sense or early projections as to anything that we might be using the reserve fund for fiscal 21?
Are you going back to your finance committee days, Jonathan? I think we have one or two that we're thinking about. Kevin, we talked about those the other night. What were they?
That's correct. One of them is the workers' comp budget.
For the
we their audit came in and we're a little short on the salary side. So we're going to be looking $35,000 to $40,000 for workers' comp. And for the vocational schools for additional students that ended up at Essex North, which is the old Essex Aggie. Those are the two that stand out right now.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Any other questions? All right, is this the final budget?
This is
Yes.
the final budget.
Final budget, professional medical.
Professional medical, we are requesting level funding. This budget is used mainly for new hire physicals, but may include police and fire physicals for pre-employment. Can be very expensive. They can run up to $1,500 each. There's also mandatory Department of Transportation physicals for employees with CDL licenses. They need to have recertification every year. And then if a person is out injured or sick and they need a return to work physical, it would fall under this budget also. Total budget request is $10,850, with $8,350 coming from tax levy, $1,250 coming from the water, and $1,250 coming from the sewer enterprise accounts.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions on professional medical? All right, seeing none. Thanks so much, Kevin. That was a quick, concise recitation of 26 budgets.
Thank you again, and I apologize for the bad connection we were having earlier.
No, well, make sure you thank Judith, because I see you're on her iPad. So she
Yes, I
saved
am.
the day.
She didn't want to give it up, but I made it. Thank you.
Takes a village. Thank you. So Steve, how should we word, or Tom?
I think that if it's as simple as this, if this is the council is happy, they could vote to approve the budgets as presented.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve the budgets as presented, and we can have a discussion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Moved by Paul,
Second.
seconded by Jonathan. Any discussion on? Maybe.
Not a discussion on any particular budget, but thank you. Did Kevin already leave? Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Steve. And I know, Steve, you made a decision not to have department heads come because it's COVID and people deserve their time off. And I say, I want to just appreciate that and say that we did miss the staff. So hopefully next year they will be back, because it is nice seeing, other than, we did Tom's budget and Tom was here as he always is. But, great that they weren't here and they got some time off and didn't have to sit through a meeting, but looking forward to having them back next year so we can kind of learn more about their projects and things like that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Ed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wondering, what is the best way to placehold the banners for the veterans in the veterans budget so that we don't lose sight of that?
Oh, I'm just going to make sure it happens. Yeah.
Okay. Works for me. Thanks.
Sounds good. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Myself, yes. Maureen?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Ed?
Aye.
Julie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And Paul?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're now moving to items 11, 12, if any. On the announcements, I'm going to start as opposed to end. I just want to give tremendous thanks and acknowledge how difficult the past couple of weeks have been for all our first responders, police, fire, Cataldo ambulance, who entered a very difficult, very difficult domestic violence scene that ended in the death of Pamela Martin Wood on so many levels. She was a beloved Greenwood teacher for a long time, impacted the lives of many children. That type of incident is just devastating all around from all aspects to it, in addition to certainly what our first responders had to deal with it and go through. And I know that, you know, sometimes there's questions about what happened, and at some point, the state police, the district attorney's office will release information. That's not going to happen for a long time. It should not happen during the pendency of the case that could impact anything in the criminal system, but they will certainly, Marion Ryan's great, the district attorney of Middlesex County. She will release her findings when she sees fit, and it will come from her office. It's certainly not going to come from anyone, certainly not us. And I'm sure Chief Scory will also defer to the DA's office. But I couldn't be more proud of all the people involved, and my heart's really go out to everybody, absolutely everybody that's involved in that situation. And I want to, this is something that's kind of silly after speaking to that, but I think some people have reached out to some of us on the council via social media messaging. And I would just ask that that's fine if you're on social media, but I know I missed something because I'm not on Facebook. And again, my soul is light and airy because of it. And I have no plans on going back anytime soon. So if folks need to reach out to us, please use our counselor emails. We will get back to you as soon as we can. Facebook Messenger is not a good way to reach out to us on any kind of official, even our unofficial capacity. So I just wanted to add that. But I'll now open it up to other announcements. Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My announcement is going to only be an announcement that I've already made, but I'd like to make it via this means of reaching out to others. As most people already know, I've decided not to run for re-election come April. After 21 years of service to this beautiful community, I am hanging my hat up. Another door has opened, as they say, and I'm going to head in that direction and see where it takes me. It's been a blast. Trust me, it's been a learning curve, to say the least. This is just, really, it's just to let everyone know that the letter that I put out is a reality. It's not something fake. It's not false news. I did put out in a letter on Facebook announcing myself to everyone that made comments. Thank you very much for your support. I am definitely not retracting my letter. That's staying in place. But with that being said, that's my only announcement at this point, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Paul. And I'm sure we will have time before April to wish you all the best and to acknowledge all the work you've done over the past years. But thank you for your comments. Jonathan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations, Paul, and thank you for everything you've done. I know we'll spend more time doing this, but I know that all of us have enjoyed serving with you, and you definitely are going to leave a hole on the council after April. So in the meantime, we'll all try to squeeze as much work out of you as we can. I had a couple of announcements and sort of updates that I wanted to share with the council. The first, actually, in the spirit of squeezing a lot of work out of Councillor Donaco, is just an update that the first public forum for the Wakefield Vision 2030 initiative is scheduled. It will take place on Thursday, March 4th at 7 o'clock, and that will be a virtual public forum. It will be held via Zoom. It is open to the public, and I hope a lot of the public does participate in that. This is really intended to be a very grassroots effort. We do want to get as much feedback as possible as we can from the community, so look for more communication on that coming up. I also do want to just express my thanks to the members of the advisory group for Wakefield Vision 2030, again, including Councillor Donaco, for all of the work that they've been doing. So at the same time that we're doing these virtual public forums, we are going to have a series of surveys that are released to the community, again, to try to gather as much feedback as possible. And the advisory group, along with folks in Town Hall, including Steve and Erin Kakinda and Jen McDonald, have really been doing a ton of work to help put together those surveys and vet out different questions and so forth. So I just want to really acknowledge the work that's being done there and express my appreciation for everyone's effort on that. Second thing I wanted to mention is that I know a number of us attended the virtual Mass Municipal Association conference this week, which was definitely a different experience online than it was live, but you know, certainly no less illuminating in many ways. And you know, hope we'll kind of use this time to kind of maybe reflect on some of what we all took out of it. You know, I will say for me, you know, the two things that were most helpful were, you know, getting an update from the state on the fiscal outlook, particularly as we think about sort of the future of tax valuations, especially on the commercial side, given how the pandemic's really affected the business community. So certainly a lot to think about from there. You know, on the less tactical, but I think more important side of things, you know, the conference really did focus a lot around, you know, issues of racial justice and bias in our communities. It was something that really infused a lot of the discussions that we had, and you know, at least for me, was sort of a reminder that you know, our work in this area as a community isn't done. And that, well, you know, there've been a lot of positive things we've done in the last year. You know, there's a lot more work that we need to do. To that end, I wanted to highlight one program coming up from the Human Rights Commission. It's a set of implicit bias trainings that they've put out there. One is this Thursday at 6 o'clock. And the second one, I believe, it was next Saturday, the 6th at 10 a.m. They're about 2-hour sessions, but you know, really encourage not only my colleagues on this committee and in other boards in town to sign up, but members of the public as well. They look to be really excellent programs, and I think offer all of us an opportunity to reflect on how, as leaders in town, we can do more to promote racial justice and equality. So finally, and I apologize, I've droned on a lot for this. I did also just want to mention one event that the Wakefield Public Schools are doing. The next Community Mental Health Forum that they're putting together is Thursday, the 11th at 7 o'clock. The focus is on skill, not will, how to reduce conflicts with kids through collaborative problem solving. And I know as a parent, any of us who have our children at home a lot more than we're used to having them home over the last several months, this is definitely something I'm sure that many of us appreciate and may be able to benefit from. So thank you, Madam Chair. That's all for me.
Thanks, Jonathan. Ed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to also just send along condolences to the entire Pamela Wood family. It was a horrible tragedy, one you never expect to happen in your own community. But I was incredibly impressed by the resolve of our community of coming together. I know it impacted a lot of folks, certainly the Greenwood families, the Doyle School parents and children as well, and just the community at large. So it's unfortunate that sometimes times of tragedy really show us all, you know, coming together at our best. So I hope we can keep that spirit of community going forward, you know, out of respect for a really, you know, great member of it that we had lost. I also, you know, really want to again acknowledge the really difficult work that our police and fire do on a daily basis, and police in recent weeks have had, you know, had a lot going on in town, and they've dealt with a whole heck of a lot, more than any would anticipate, and they've done it with incredible professionalism, and they have just amazing perseverance, and I say this a lot, but we are so incredibly, you know, fortunate to have the first responders we do, police, fire, and right down to DPW. So you know, we have the best of the best in our community, and I just want to thank them all for all that they do every day, but especially recognize what they're going through in recent weeks. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Any other comments or? Okay. So seeing none, I just need a motion and second for adjournment. Our next town meeting will be Monday, February 8th at 7 p.m. via Zoom.
Sorry, and Julie, did you have your hand raised?
It's hard to hear me. I'm going to put something in chat.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see your hand. I'm sorry,
Oh, it's
Julie.
okay, it's okay. I'm gonna throw it in chat. There's just a meeting.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so Julie says in the chat, the Safe Street Working Group meeting is tomorrow at 7 p.m. It includes updates of Greenway connecting Malden, Melrose, Wakefield, and Stoneham. Details are on the community calendar. So
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Steve, did you have anything in closing?
No, I just want to, again, I've spent a lot of time talking with, spent a long time anyway, talking with Chief Scory, and I do agree that, his officers did, they never know what they're going to face when they go out on every call, and they do it well. They do it excellently. Our officers are doing as well as can be expected. Want to thank the support of the community, the council, the fact that the council sent over dinner for them. Small gesture, but it's huge to them. So they really appreciated it, and our officers are doing as well as can be expected. And I'm very grateful that we're involved with NEMLEC, and we have an employee assistance program that they can look to get a little help when they need it. But I do thank the council for their comments and their support. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Anyone else? Okay. Forgive me, I forget if we had a motion and a second for adjournment. No, okay. Could someone move?
So moved.
Moved by Maureen,
Second.
seconded by Ed. All in favor, myself, yes. Maureen,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Ed,
Aye.
Julie,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and Paul.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, thank you all. Be well, Wakefield, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.